Welcome to The Late Show, everybody. I'm your host, Stephen Colbert. Look, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, friends. Hey, friends. I don't know what you all are talking about, but everybody I talk to is talking about what Donald Trump doesn't want to talk about. So let's talk about it. It being the conspiracy surrounding his old dancing buddy, Jeffrey Epstein. There you go.
He's so blatantly stupid. He's a punk. He's a dog. He's a pig. He's a con, a bullshit artist, a mutt who doesn't know what he's talking about, doesn't do his homework, doesn't care, thinks he's gaming society, doesn't pay his taxes. He's an idiot. Colin Powell said it best. He's a national disaster. He's an embarrassment to this country.
Donald Trump has been called many things: businessman, showman, disruptor. But Stephen Colbert and Robert De Niro cut through the branding and reduced him to something far simpler: an act. To them, Trump was never the fearless outsider he claimed to be, just the loudest guy in the room, hawking a broken product and convincing millions it was gold. Their roast stripped away the spectacle, leaving the salesman standing alone without the show.
Was buddies with a pedophile. On Friday, the Wall Street Journal dropped an absolute bombshell. They are reporting that in 2003, Trump sent a birthday letter to Jeffrey Epstein for his 50th birthday that was sexually suggestive. Yeah, it's the most inappropriate birthday gift since Carvel debuted Fudgy the Hung Like a Whale.
America's Philistine president has had himself appointed head of one of our premier cultural institutions. He has cut funding and support to the arts, humanities, and education. And now he has announced a 100% tariff on films produced outside the U.S. Let that sink in for a minute. You can't put a price on creativity, but apparently you can put a tariff on it. Of course, this is unacceptable. All these attacks are unacceptable.
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Colbert mocked Trump's presidency like a late-night parody that refused to end, while De Niro brought the raw fury of someone fed up with cheap theatrics. Together, they tore down the illusion, revealing Trump not as a political titan but as a man so addicted to spectacle he mistook applause for leadership. Colbert wasted no time dismantling the great dealmaker myth, portraying Trump not as a master negotiator but as someone who rarely finishes anything he starts.
For years, before he was, reelected, and recently since they all got into office, a bunch of high-ranking people in Trump's administration have kept promising to release the files surrounding Jeffrey Epstein, his mysterious clients, and his suspicious death. But now, suddenly, for reasons that I legally cannot think of, Donald Trump seems desperate to stop us from knowing who Jeffrey Epstein's clients were.
From casinos that folded like a bad hand to a university that conned students with empty promises, Colbert turned Trump's resume into a punchline, a graveyard of failed ventures wrapped in gold lettering. He mocked Trump's supposed business genius as nothing more than a magic trick pulled off with smoke, mirrors, and bankruptcy filings. Every claim of success, Colbert argued, was like watching a man insist his sinking ship was a luxury cruise, right up until you notice the passengers already leaping overboard.
According to the Wall Street Journal, Trump's letter featured several lines of typewritten text framed by the outline of a naked woman, which appears to be hand-drawn with heavy marker. In the drawing, a pair of small arcs denotes the woman's breasts, and the future president's signature is a squiggly Donald below her waist, mimicking pubic hair. Do you know what that means? That means Donald Trump has drawn pubic hair on every executive.
De Niro added a darker edge to the picture, targeting Trump not just as a failure but as a threat. He painted Trump as a man who thrived on chaos, someone incapable of functioning without conflict. To De Niro, Trump wasn't a leader. He was an arsonist, lighting political fires just so he could pose in front of the flames and call himself the hero. The bravado, the tweets, the endless outrage cycles weren't signs of strength, De Niro argued, but proof of fragility. What looked like power was really insecurity, shouted in all caps and punctuated with exclamation points.
Makes me so angry that this country has gotten to this point, that this fool, this bozo, has wound up where he has. He talks how he wants to punch people in the face. Well, I'd like to punch him in the face. This is somebody that we want for president? I don't think so. What I care about is the direction of this country. And what I'm very, very worried about is that it might go in the wrong direction with someone like Donald Trump. If you care about your future.
Colbert circled back to Trump's obsession with image, roasting his fixation on crowd sizes and his compulsive need to label everything the biggest, the best, the most beautiful. Colbert compared it to a child with a crayon crown, scribbling world's greatest on every available surface. He argued that Trump's relentless self-promotion wasn't a sign of confidence, but of a man terrified of being forgotten. The endless bragging, Colbert said, wasn't about real achievements. It was just noise to fill the silence when there's nothing substantial to offer.
For reasons that I legally cannot think of, Donald Trump seems desperate to stop us from knowing who Jeffrey Epstein's clients were. In fact, yesterday, he said he was surprised anyone even cares about the guy.
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life.
That sentence was never a big factor in terms of word.
De Niro took the theme and drove it even harder. Trump's obsession with image wasn't just ridiculous, it was insulting. Here was a man with enormous power, yet his daily priority was TV ratings and magazine covers. De Niro mocked the absurdity of a president who measured his worth in headlines, treating the job like another episode of a reality show. He compared Trump's governance to directing a bad action movie, full of loud explosions, nonsensical plots, and a director barging onto set just to remind everyone how brilliant he thinks he is. Colbert piled on, joking that the teleprompter wasn't there to guide Trump's message, but to remind him where he was. Every rally speech, Colbert said, played like a stand-up routine with no punchline, and the punchline that did land was that the crowd wasn't laughing with Trump, they were laughing at him.
Really worry that if he were to win again, and I'm not saying this like it's such a far-fetched notion, if he were to win again, that he would not give up power?
You know he won't. You know he won't. He even said it. He's never going to give it up. And anybody who deludes themselves in thinking that he is, shame on you.
De Niro matched Colbert's energy by dissecting Trump's theatrical persona. Every entrance, every gesture, every exaggerated hand motion, he argued, was part of an overplayed act. De Niro described it as method acting gone wrong. Trump had convinced himself that playing the strongman somehow made him one. The scowls, the bravado, the posturing, all theater, no substance. Worse, De Niro said, Trump wasn't just fooling the public. He was fooling himself, mistaking applause for actual power. Colbert zeroed in on Trump's obsession with media praise, roasting him not as a hardened politician but as a thin-skinned celebrity who couldn't handle bad reviews. He joked that Trump might be the first leader in history whose biggest enemy wasn't the opposition party, but the critics who gave him 2 stars out of 5. De Niro closed the loop by underscoring the danger in this fixation. Trump's obsession with image and spectacle wasn't harmless vanity, it came with real costs. Decisions were made not on strategy or policy, but on what played well on TV. Laws were shaped not for long-term benefit, but for short-term applause lines.
Do you think our democracy is at risk in this election?
I think that it is. I always keep saying democracy is great, of course, but democracy people take for granted. It's a word that some people don't even understand. They take it for granted. It's about right and wrong, period. The guy's a monster. He is beyond wrong. It's almost like he wants to do the most horrible things that he can think of in order to get a rise out of us. I don't know what it is, but he's been doing it, and it's scary.
Are you
Excuse my French.
De Niro framed it as the ultimate betrayal, a leader who turned the entire country into a prop for his personal show, trading substance for spectacle at every opportunity. Colbert zeroed in on the irony of Trump's populism, the self-proclaimed champion of the forgotten man who had lived a life insulated by privilege, luxury, and detachment from the struggles of everyday Americans. Colbert mocked the notion of Trump as an outsider, likening him instead to the country club regular who insists he understands the caddies' lives, not as solidarity, but as a punchline. For De Niro, Trump's legacy wouldn't be one of building, as he so often claimed, but of tearing down norms, trust, and unity. His critique carried the weight of someone who had seen 1,000 performances and knew when an actor had lost the audience. Trump's act, he said, wasn't just unconvincing anymore. It was stale, exhausted, and dangerous in its insistence on staying center stage.
We're in a very bad situation. there's not. I remember you and I about 5-6 years ago talking. I'm down at the Spring Studios. Something about. I said, "What just happened? Just happened." No, it didn't. Didn't happen. It's all about truth, and what we have here is a denial of truth all over the place. And even the speech that he made after is insane. It's just insane, and I'm very, very concerned about it. I think we all are. It's insane. So that's why I felt I had to do something, say something about it, to go on record.
Together, Colbert and De Niro delivered a demolition job like no other. Colbert's wit sliced through the absurdities, turning Trump's antics into punchlines waiting to be told. De Niro's intensity added weight, transforming mockery into something closer to indictment. By the end, Trump was no longer the bold leader he claimed to be. He was a caricature, a man trapped in his own performance, endlessly rehearsing lines for a play the audience had already left. Their conclusion was brutal and clear. Trump's greatest talent was never leadership, it was self-promotion. And that, Colbert argued, is its own kind of comedy. Trump isn't Napoleon plotting world domination. He's a man rage-tweeting at 3 a.m. about cable news hosts who forgot to compliment him. Colbert painted him not as a grand strategist playing chess, but as someone still struggling with Connect 4, and even then, cheating by pulling out the bottom row when the game doesn't go his way.
And why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff.
Yes. No, he's right. The Epstein saga is a total snooze fest. I mean, the most powerful man in the world is blocking information about a cabal of the rich, the famous, and the royal, befriending a con man who regularly flies off in his private plane to his private island or do super illegal sex stuff. Then the con man is arrested. People are afraid he's going to name names, but before he can, he mysteriously dies right after being taken off a suicide watch in a federal prison during the administration of the guy who is blocking the release of the information. Boring.
What makes Colbert's roast truly sting is his knack for exposing just how predictable Trump has become. Every scandal, every controversy, every so-called shock is just a rerun of the same old play. Deny, deflect, distract. Colbert likened Trump's career to a bad sitcom reboot. Same lines, same laugh track, same tired catchphrases, but with fewer viewers each season. Even his rallies, he joked, are like cover bands playing the same old songs, except the audience isn't cheering. They're dozing off in oversized hats. Niro, never one for subtlety, went straight for the jugular on Trump's supposed toughness. The performance of strength, he argued, is no substitute for real strength. Trump, De Niro insisted, hides behind bluster because he has nothing else to stand on.